suppose, Colin, we'll start with the fact that the supporters are going to be back on Friday night. It's a big thing for everyone, I suppose, and it'll give a big lift to the players and the staff as well.
No, listen, it's great for everybody. It's great for everybody, for the fans, and to get back into Turner's Cross. It's great for the players, but overall it's fantastic to see the fans back in Turner's Cross. Absolutely.
And I suppose it's a great honour for the club and for Turner's Cross, for Cork, that the club has been picked as one of the trial events. There's only a few trial events on around the country. There's the Shamrock Rovers game, the Leinster game, and a few other sporting events over the next couple of weeks. But for Cork City to be chosen, it's a nice honour for the club, isn't it?
Listen, it's brilliant. It's brilliant. As I said, listen, it's the fans are special in Cork. As I said, listen, it's great to get them into Turner's Cross. As I said, listen, we got brilliant supporters. So it's great. It's great for them to get back in to see a bit of live football.
Absolutely. And Cabinteely, your opponents, Colin, obviously you were defeated by Cabinteely up in Dublin earlier on in the season, so you'd be expecting a tough game from them again.
Yeah, it was. As I said, listen, it was a difficult game up there. As I said, we had a lot of possession. You know, we couldn't put the ball in the back of the net, and they got a soft goal against us. But as I said, listen, they're a well organised team. They're a good side, obviously, and coming down to Cork, and they'll put on a good display against us.
You've had a bit of a break now since the disappointment of the Cove game, the defeat down at St. Colman's Park, and I suppose maybe the break was welcome. It was a chance to kind of give the players a few days off and refresh things, and kind of just get your heads together and get ready for a fresh kind of approach to the next part of the season.
Yeah, no, listen, that's it. As I said, the players did a few days off. They came back in on Sunday. They've trained away. They've been fine, and as I said, listen, all preparation now, getting ready for the Cabinteely game on Friday night.
Just on the injury front, Carl, what's now Stephen Beattie? Obviously, Beattie was an experienced player that you brought back to Cork City. It's going to be a source of frustration. Is he any closer to being fit?
Stephen, he'd come back and he had a hamstring injury, and he came back into training. He played 1 or 2 games and he pulled it again, and he's just picking up that little niggles every now and again. So listen, he's back in training. He's back in training at the moment. Listen, as he said, listen, we still have a few days before Friday. We'll see how training goes. Again on Thursday, we'll make a decision then on Friday.
Yeah, I suppose you could do with that bit of experience, Carl, couldn't you? Just, settle the team. I mean, just looking at the recent performances, if you put away a few of the goal chances, you'll climbing up the table. I guess, just looking at the Cove defeat, Carl, is there more to fix with the team than just missing those chances,
I mean, the only thing about it, Trevor, what I would say is, Cove didn't have many chances against us. We had a lot of chances. Well, I said we didn't score. Cove had probably 1 or 2 chances to score, and it's very, very difficult then for us. So there's not a lot too wrong at the moment, Trevor. As I said, listen, so we keep working hard in the training ground, and hopefully we can put on a good performance Friday night against Cabinteely.
Yeah, you're thinking the goals will come, Carl.
Well, that's where we listen. I mean, it's not lack of effort anyway, Trevor. As you said, you've seen it down in Cove. Listen, the boys are giving everything they got. Do you get me? Listen, we hit the post twice. We had a few chances. Could we be a small more clinical and be more ruthless in front goal? Absolutely. But listen, the lads are giving everything they can at the moment there.
Yeah, 7 of your 9 points are coming home, Carl. And as you were saying, the supporters back on Friday. Obviously, we're hoping that'll give it the extra push as well, just to push the players on to hear that level of kind of atmosphere again,
No, definitely. As I said, listen, we all know what a fantastic stadium Turner's Cross is when the fans are back in. I know we have 600, 750 fans back in, but listen, they'll make it as loud as possible and listen to cheer the team on. Listen, and that gives players confidence. So I'm hoping that, listen, the fans enjoy the game Friday night, and obviously the players enjoy the fans being there Friday night as well.
Yeah, it's that kind of league we spoke about, Colin, week after week in your press conferences, that 2 wins on the bounce could put you up there right in the top 5 again, or at least in the mix. It's going to be that kind of season, you feel, isn't it? It
is. And I said, listen, every game has been difficult. There hasn't been much in it, but as I said, the most important thing is, clean sheets and putting the ball in the back of the net, and it's just things that we need to improve on. And listen, hopefully on Friday night against Cabinteely that we can do that.
Yeah, you'll be hoping as well from your point of view, Carl, that, obviously Cabinteely lost at the bottom of the table Wexford last time out, and then that week off to think about it. So we'll be hoping that'll be a kind of a negative for them going into it.
I mean, listen, they could look at us against two, getting beaten against Cove as well. They could look at it that as well. It says, listen, sometimes, with the week off, listen, the players go away to refresh themselves. They come back in and they're hungry again to start to train. So listen, no, as I said, we're focused. The boys have trained well. They prepared well. So listen, we'll be organised. We'll be full out of Friday night, and hopefully that we can go and get the 3 points against Cabinteely.
Yeah, and if you get them, Carl, you'll close the gap on the top 5, the likes of Cabinteely. So the incentive is there. I suppose the incentive is there nearly in every match in the cup.
It is. As I said, listen, Trevor. As I said, listen. You put 2 or 3 wins together. Listen, you climb up the table, and listen. That's the way the league is at this year. Listen. It's there's teams dropping points as well. But if you put a few runs together, then obviously you climb up the table. There's no worry. But as I said, Cabinteely is the most important game on Friday night, and hopefully we can get 3 points there.
I just wonder, is it like a kind of almost a sense of a clean slate now, we'll say, after the first third of the season, starting into the next section of games?
I wouldn't say that, Martin, to be honest. I said, listen, we take one game at a time. I said, listen, it was disappointing against Cove. I mean, the chances that we have and to get nothing from the game, but it's, as I said, listen, the boys have the week off. Listen, they come back in and we'll get ourselves ready for the Cabinteely game. But it's I wouldn't say it's a clean slate. Listen, we know ourselves. We need to be better. We know that anyway. We're saying to Trevor there while ago is that you put good run of form again games in 2 or 3 games, you could be you're back up, you're climbing up the table again. That's how close the league is at the moment.
Will there be any new faces coming in over the coming weeks, would you expect?
I don't know at the moment, Martin, to be honest with you. I don't know. As I said, listen, we are always looking for players as well, as I said. So at the moment, no, there's nothing coming in at the moment, Martin.
Okay, and one final one, just, is there any new faces on the bench yet at this stage, or is that still?
No, we're still working on that. I said at the moment, Liam Carn is still giving me a hand out at the moment, but it's we're still working on that side of things as well.
Will any of the younger players be maybe drafted up to the senior squad over the coming weeks, or that from Liam Carney from the academy?
Oh, is Carn's going to bring the academy boys up because I've got Carn's on the bench? Is it? No.
Will it be any of the young?
No, it all depends on injuries and all that, Martin. As I said, listen, the lads are back in training now the last 2 or 3 weeks, and they're back into games. So it kind of, listen, they have a game now tonight, so we'll go up and have a look at that. So now they're back into games. Now if we need fellas now for the bench, is that their fitness levels are good, that we can get them involved.
Can I just go back to the fans? I know Friday night is a very positive step, and it's only a small step, and there's still quite a way to go. Can you just sum up a little bit from a manager, head coach point of view, how difficult it's been operating in this kind of vacuum without fans, and what it meant for the team, and in terms of trying to raise performances and get performances out of players?
First of all, I'd say I'll bring it back to the players and all that kind of stuff. I still think that the players themselves it's up to themselves to raise their standards as well. I know the manager obviously set the standards in the training session and all that, but it has to come from the player as well on that side of things. I mean, sometimes you can feel, without the atmosphere, sometimes there's a feel, even when you're watching the games, does it just look like a training session? And sometimes it can be difficult. It can be, but listen, as I say, with the attitude and the intensity that we play, and listen, that's fine. But with the crowd in there, sometimes it will give you that lift, that extra 10%, and that will drive you on, and obviously creates that confidence for those players. But I think it's been a massive effect for the game of football without the fans, as you've seen in the last few games. Now with the fans back in, it's a total different game altogether. It's a total different game. As I said, listen, I don't know, I think there's more intensity, there's more of a bite to it. So it's great that the fans are back in, and I hope that going forward that they come back in a lot more, come back in 750.
Yeah, and just one more for me on that. We spoke to Stephen Bradley recently, who was sort of, the assumption would always be that players raise their game playing in front of fans. He was making the point that he's actually noticed opponents raising their game without fans when they're playing against Rovers, because maybe they're just a bit freer, they don't have that pressure of playing in front of fans. Can you see how that, some players might be different, that maybe some players perform better without fans?
Well, I suppose listen, if they go out in front of fans and they make mistakes, and obviously fans get in the back, then obviously it's very easy to hide. I suppose when there's no fans there, listen, there's not as much pressure on the away teams. I suppose a lot of teams will go to Rovers, and a lot of teams comes down to Cork that they want to go and beat Cork, they want to beat Rovers, and that's just the way they are. And probably with the no fans is that there's no pressure on them, they can go out and express themselves. But it says when the fans are in there, there's more. Listen, everybody's watching you, everybody's seeing if you do make the mistakes. It just comes down to how strong you are as a character and as a footballer, is that to be brave. And listen, you just block out the fans. you just worry about yourself and you set your own standards.
Hey Colin, I mean, you're just talking about the difference with fans and no fans. Have you enjoyed the games, or is it really they're just not the same as what they can be like?
No, they're not the same. They're not the same. Absolutely, they're not. Like as I said, listen, yeah, the fans are everything. The fans are everything. As I said, listen, I'm just speaking from a Cork point of view. When you don't turn across, the place is quiet. You can hear the cars passing. It's quiet. It's just when the fans are in there, it's a total different game. As I said, listen, you hear them singing. You see all the kids coming in with the Cork City jerseys. You see the players. It's that their families are in. It's a total different game. Total different game.
Yeah, and are you going to learn something about players now? Because I'm just thinking, I'm sure you played with people who were brilliant in training, but they didn't do it on the weekend. And just with a crowd there, as you say, they just won't maybe feel a bit of pressure that they didn't have in these games up to now.
Yeah, listen, obviously with the fans coming in, obviously it puts more pressure on the players, but I think the better players and all that will step up and they'll enjoy it, and obviously it will make them better, and they'll want to go out and express and show them what they can do. And then what happens then is that the crowd then have a favourite player, or as for instance like a Sean Maguire or something like that, is that it creates confidence, and it just gives that player that freedom that he can go and express himself, and it can take him to different levels. But then it comes back then to the other side of things, is that if people can't handle the crowd, then they shy away from it, and it can affect their performances. But then it comes back to the kind of what character is that player. If he can deal with it in a big situation, then other clubs looking at other players then like that. Listen, if he can play in front of 5,000 and he's enjoying it, why can't he play in front of 40,000?
Yeah. Just, I mean, what's been the highlight for you in terms of cross with fans? Are we going back to the bicycle kick, or was there another one I'm thinking of?
Listen, that was a miss kick, that was, listen. I keep saying it again, listen. No, it's listen, as I said, listen, I can just speak from Cork City point of view, is that when the place is 6,000-7,000 down here, there's no better place in League of Ireland football. Some lads, you might disagree with me, but there's not. As I said, when the shed and that is packed down here, this is the best place to play football.
Yeah. Are you being terrorised for phone calls this week for people looking to get some of those tickets?
I haven't been actually. Be surprised, probably because we got beaten last week. I'll probably just turn off my phone for a few days. So listen. I think it's quite tight on the numbers and all that kind of stuff. So I don't know how they're going to deal with it. But I think there'll be a lot of people probably sitting on the walls and all that kind of stuff trying to get in.
All right. Thanks, Colin.
Thanks, Owen.
Alan, could I just ask you one more, just on the fans? Sorry, is there any fear? Sorry, no. I know it's not necessarily your concern as a manager, but is there any fear that maybe fans throughout the league and across the country, because they've been switched off from being able to go to games, that maybe a lot of them just won't come back, that we might have lost X amount of supporters around the league? Or do you think there's such an appetite at this stage to get back to normal life that they'll come flooding back?
I think they'll come back. I think they will. I think it's that Friday night football, that what they miss is that they bring the families going out. Listen,